Today I'm going to show you how I built this resin organiser. This was a super useful project and one I'm really glad I've done now. I started by gluing up all of the pine slats. These were left over from an old project, so they proved super useful in this one. I used F-style clamps and some Gorilla wood glue. I then left these all to dry in the sun for about 24 hours. It was really good that it was warm outside because it meant I could leave them outside rather than having to bring them into the house to dry. Whilst I'm just measuring all these dimensions out, I'm going to tell you about my YouTube channel. So when I reach 100 subscribers, I'm going to be doing a giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do subscribe with the notification bell on. I then sawed up all of these pine slats. I know this is a very strange method of sawing, but it was 26 degrees outside and it was very warm. And I didn't particularly want to have to get all the clamps out and everything, so I just did it a bit of a strange way. I then started to assemble the box. I used my engineer's vise to hold the piece of wood whilst I drilled, countersinked and then screwed the pieces of wood together. I did this for both of the two sides and then put them together into a box formation. What I hadn't realised when I was assembling this was the pine slats were actually slightly different widths, which wasn't the end of the world. It just meant I had to use my block plane and a tenon saw to get these all nice and square. If you want to see how I made this more in depth, I will be writing a blog about this and I'll link the blog in the description below. I then screwed the box together using 30mm screws. These are made by Dial and I'm a big fan of these screws. They're really good and they look really nice as well. I wasn't massively bothered by the aesthetics of this project, hence why I didn't actually flush cut these hinges. I used a pen to mark out where the holes would need to be drilled and then I just put the hinges in. I made sure they were 20mm from each end of the wood though. I then attached the hinge to the top of the box lid first. I used some screws to do this and then I attached it to the main section of the box afterwards. If you're using bigger screws, I would recommend drilling a pilot hole, but I could get away without a pilot hole because these were quite small screws. I then repeated the same procedure for the other hinge and attached it to the box as well. As you can see, I lined it up with my pre-marked holes and screwed it all together. After I'd done this, I actually started unscrewing the box again. This was so I could sand all the interior pieces and sand the box lid. I wanted a rustic look to the box, so I sanded some of this wood stain off that I had previously applied to this box. You could skip this step and just apply some oil, but I really liked this rustic look and I wanted to have an experiment with it. I really like this Bosch PSM 80A sander. It's really versatile and it's a really good size in the hand. I then applied some more wood stain to one of these pieces that hadn't had any on it, and then I repeated the same procedure with sanding and applying a bit of oil. If you're interested, this box took me about 2.5 hours to make, but obviously I was filming so it does take a bit longer to make. I then sanded the two side panels and applied some oil to those as well, and I left it out in the sun to dry. I really like using Chestnut Products finishes as they give a really nice sheen to the outside of the box and they really enhance the grain. I then sanded the inside of the lid, which was the last piece I needed to sand. I had these really small casters that I was going to use on the bottom of this box. I didn't feel the need to put 4 screws into each caster given I wasn't going to have much weight on this. I then decided I was only going to use 2 screws on each caster, which still provided a strong fit. I then refitted the whole box back together. I had some scrap sheet metal which I wanted to add as a decorative feature to the inside of the box. I used my saw to mark the 90-degree angles that I would need to cut, and then I used my hacksaw initially to try and cut through this, but I found it really difficult using a hacksaw, so I ended up using a coping saw, which was so much easier, and I don't know why I didn't start with it. The advantage of the coping saw is you can turn the handle to make it more comfortable, so I ended up using a saw at a slightly strange angle, but it was really useful. I then used a smooth cut file to remove any of the sharp edges and burrs to this piece of metal, as I didn't want it to hurt me when I opened the box. I then used a 1mm drill bit to make some holes that I could then apply some screws through. I added this to the inside of the box and checked for fitment. Here was the end result. As you can see, my resin fits really nice into it. I've got the resin in a plastic bag as it does smell a little bit. I really liked the outcome of this project and I hope you guys like it too. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments section. Here's some photos of the end result. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed this video.